If you've either been alleged to have caused injuries to your child or there are concerns that you've caused injuries to your child, then you need to know about resolution-style parenting assessments. This also applies to people where there may have been previous care proceedings regarding an older child where findings may have been made against you that you caused those injuries, or where you couldn't have been ruled out from causing the injuries and you might now have gone on to have another child, and the local authority might be looking at issuing care proceedings, or you might be in the PLO process. The assessments focus much more deeply on assessing risk and how to manage that risk. They will more greatly look into your support network, and there will be a real focus around how a child can be safeguarded in circumstances where there are concerns about previous injuries that may have been caused by that parent. So the purpose of the assessment is to look at whether or not a child can be placed with their parent, even in the face of findings that a parent has caused injuries and even where those allegations are denied. Often, as specialist care solicitors, we may want to look at whether that assessment should be done independently rather than in-house by the local authority, and that would be dealt with on a case-by-case basis depending on the approach of the local authority, the circumstances of the case.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. If you're an old subscriber, I love you guys so much. Oh my god, we've made it to 400 subscribers and counting. I'm so happy, I'm so excited. Thank you guys ever so much for following this channel. Those that see my face for the first time, my name is Rader and I am the owner of this channel. So what do I bring to you guys? Basically anything I feel like we should discuss and talk about. Okay, so without further ado, let's just dive right into today's video. So in today's video, as a support worker who works with vulnerable young people, I'm going to break down the realities, what I have seen, what you need to know, and most importantly, how to make sure that your child strives without getting caught up in the system. So let's start with the big stuff, the home versus the school. So I think a lot of immigrants actually struggle with how the school system works, and basically because it's different from how it is back home, right? I mean, obviously it's not going to be the same way how it is back home. Schools in the UK encourage independence and self-expression, unlike back home where it's more of discipline and respect to authority. Okay, so we find out that a lot of times back in when your child comes back from home and you tell them don't do this thing, yeah, they're telling you, mommy, why don't you want me to do this thing? They're asking you, why don't you want? And I feel like most of the time it's not because they are trying to be disrespectful, but it's because they actually pick up the mannerism that they see in the schools, right? And they are now more inquisitive. They are now more self-aware. They're now asking questions. They're now challenging authority. They're not like, what do you mean? They're not asking, like, you'll be shocked at what a child is going to ask you because of what they are picking up from their classmates in school. And when they see another child do the same thing, they obviously want to, like, especially the young ones, right? They are so self-expressive. They are like, they have this sense of independence within them because that is what the schools in the UK here encourage. Okay, it's so unlike that back home. I mean, back home in Nigeria, if a teacher says sit down, you're like, it's only when like obviously you want to be the naughty one, they be like, before me, you know, but they will punish you, you know, kneel down, carry up your hands, all those kind of things, which here it might be classified as abuse. Okay,
I don't know how to
but I think it's more of like, when you think about it, it's the what makes you learn is the consequences of not learning.
And is that good? Do you think that's good? Do you think that's good?
I think there should be a healthy balance. Because you could think about it, a lot of things that happens in the UK, like, is because there's no discipline.
Yeah. There's no consequence.
Like you guys, my story is different because I was born there. I came when I was 12, right? So when I came here, I thought, this is a bag of mess. Like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I just went wild.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Where that wouldn't have been the case if I was back home. So for me, when I got up, well, I then could just tell the teacher to shut up and nothing will happen. Like, imagine doing that in Africa. What? You run wild. It's as if, like, you want to test it out. Like, you want to see, let me do that. Shut up, miss. Do you know what I'm saying?
I was a bad you in school.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say school, yeah?
Yeah, I wasn't like that. I wasn't like that before I came here.
The system encourages young people to question, like encourage young people to actually do the questioning bit. Rather, in Nigeria, if you tell a child sit down, they're not going to ask you why. They will just sit down, you know. And I feel like I feel like in a way there's like an advantage and a disadvantage of everything. Don't get me wrong. Here, in a way, there is an advantage of actually a child being able to express themselves, a child being able to question that, what you're telling them to do. But also, I feel like the disadvantage outweighs the advantage. But I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. A lot of things that are normal back home can be seen as a red flag here. This is where the cultural clash comes in. I know that the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and that when he is old, he will not depart from it. And the Bible also says that spare the rod and spoil the child, all those kind of things. But here, it is not that way. Unfortunately, the first one is the discipline method. So we believe that back home, if you do something wrong, your parents will smack you in the butt. it's either they give you this bad eye, this side eye, or they actually discipline you. And the way they discipline back home is actually hitting you and stuff. In this country, it's not like that. You do not hit a child. You do not beat a child. And the worst case scenario is if you hit a child and they happen to be a mark on that child's body, that is a safeguarding concern. That is abuse. You're going to be reported to the social service. I mean, if social service get to find out about that, you've abused that child and you're not fit to care for that child. Now I understand that you're trying to correct the child, but why are there marks on the child's body? Why does the child have to come to school and a teacher is seeing the child and saying that there are marks of visible marks on that child's body to say that you've hit that child? So punishment methods are, especially smacking of a child, are highly frowned upon. So you can think of creative ways to discipline your child that does not necessarily involve you hitting that child. That would save you a whole lot of stress here in the UK. Emotional well-being of a child. Speaking of emotional well-being, in terms of if they are happy, they are sad, things like that can easily be misinterpreted by a teacher in school, and they can easily misinterpret it as neglect or abuse. Like, let's say a child comes to the school, right, and he's feeling down, and the next thing the teacher is going to ask the child, "Oh, are you alright? What's happening?" The child will not start downloading. "I did not, I was not happy today." And the next thing you're hearing is bum 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 bum. Social services, they are at your door. What's happening? They can easily misinterpret it. So with that, I would suggest daily checking up on your child. Like, I don't know how to emphasize this enough. I feel like, I don't know whether it's just my own point of view, but a lot of times I feel like most immigrant parents, I know we work and we're so knackered and there's so many things to think about, the bills, the this and that and that. But I really, 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 really urge everybody that has a child as an immigrant in the UK to actually do the checking up on your child. Actually do the tough questions. Ask them, befriend them. Try to get to know what is really going on with them, because most of the time things are going on that we really do not know. I mean that obviously sometimes it's not easy to get a child to say some things, or you have to be at the back, like you have to be 5 and 6 with your child, because that's the only way you can get to know what's really going on with them. I'm not saying that things do not sleep. I mean, as parents, sometimes we get so overwhelmed. We miss it. Let me not even say we get so overwhelmed with work, but sometimes we miss it and we do not know what's really going on. But daily constant checking in is going to save you a whole lot of stress. Even with the young ones, even with the ones that are like 2, 3, 4, start that checking in, because you don't want the child to say things that are not like, obviously you don't want anybody to misinterpret what your child is saying. So you constantly check in. Are you okay? Are you alright? Is there anything the matter? Do you want to talk to mommy? Things like that would really go a long way, so that no one like misinterpret what your child is trying to pass, the message your child is trying to pass.
Children are very innocent. Children are very gullible. Okay, not all the time are they gonna use their good thinking, their will. Not all the time do they even know. Some children are just naive. It is your responsibility as a parent to question certain behaviors, certain attitude. If you see your child with money that they shouldn't be having, you see your child with goods that you didn't buy for them, question what they're getting that money from, because you asking more question could save your child on a long run.
What are the type of house that suits the number of like your family size? Is it a 1 bed? Is it a 2 bed? Is it a 3 bed? Is it a 4 bed? You know, and even if it's a, let's say, a 3 bed and you have more children, how are you fixing the rooms in such a way that it can take each gender, avoid your house being overcrowded for a child? Once a house is overcrowded for a child, you'll put that child at risk, and it can lead to concerns about the child's welfare. Okay, next on the list is school absences. So basically, you know how in Nigeria, sometimes I don't know if now the schools in Nigeria are very, very strict on absence. Like if a child misses school, it's not a big deal. You know, nobody's going to come and call you and say, why did your child miss school? Nobody, they're not saying that. But in the UK, it's not like that. Attendance is so important.
You have more now on a focus on school attendance.
Absolutely, Charlie. Parents in England who take their children out of school without permission are going to face higher fines. It's part of a drive to boost attendance. Now, from September, parents will face an £80 penalty, which will rise to £160 if not paid within 3 weeks.
The local council and the school can use various legal means to give you the following. The first one is a parenting order. The second one is an education supervision order. The third one is a school attendance order. And the last but not the least is a fine. So you see how many things that you are likely to get if your child misses school and there is no due reason. Like it's not a good reason. You don't have a medical report. Like there's no medical report that shows that your child is sick or something. Like there has to be a legit reason for your child not to be in school.
Before an initial child protection conference takes place, a Section 47 assessment would have usually been undertaken, which is going to determine if there are any safeguarding concerns. So it will involve the social worker speaking to the child, if appropriate, if age appropriate, family, obviously parents, and school if necessary, police if necessary, just try to get a wider view as to what's happened and what's led us to having to do this assessment in the first place. So the initial child protection conference will take place because the professionals have determined that there is a safeguarding risk present or very highly possible, and they need to collectively come together to determine what safeguarding measures can be put in place to protect everything. So that isn't going to mean automatically removing the child. We're not there. This is several steps before that. So it's trying to avoid that at all costs and trying to engage the parents in box ticking, basically, where we can improve what's gone wrong or what you need help with. I can't stress how important it is that parents attend these meetings. They should always be invited to them, and by not attending, it shows a lack of respect to the process and that you're not taking the concern seriously, and it could be held against you. So you really need to be attending those meetings.
Knowledge is your best defense. Like, you cannot be ignorant of the law. You cannot be ignorant of certain things. You always have to be at the top of your game, especially with the child protection laws, you know, because a little thing can turn into a safeguarding concern, and you really don't want to be in that position. When immigrant parents are working hard, sometimes they're picking 40-hour shifts, 60 hours a week, you barely have time. And it's just very easy for your child to mix up with the wrong crowd. But these are the things that you can actually look out for. The first is, gangs and exploitation. Young people are vulnerable to a lot of things. There's county line crimes, there's exploitation, there's, different types of things that there's drugs, there's sexual harm, there's assault. Like, there are things like a child can easily get influenced or get, caught up with. Many young people, especially from the minority communities, they get recruited into gangs. I mean, gangs are recruiting even more than parents are raising their children. Like, gangs are recruiting every single day, So, they get recruited into gangs. So these are things that, and most of the time, it's not really as if they want to get recruited. These children want to actually join. Sometimes it's just a sense of belonging. They're looking for some sort of community. They're looking for some sort of, belonging. They want to feel among. They want to, have that, prestige. I need to belong. I want to have a community. And then they actually sway into the wrong group of people, which is very harmful. The next thing you should actually look out for is drugs and knife crime. So we all know that young people are easily swayed. I mean, if you see things on the buses, we all see these things. You see young people taking drugs and stuff like that, and also involving themselves in knife crimes, county line crimes and stuff like that. When I say county line crimes, I mean like, taking drugs from one county to another county, stuff like that. So we have to be very, very, in tune with what our children are doing. Look out for these things. Look out for signs of these things. I'm sure there are numerous ways to, curtail things that when you start seeing them, you actually have to, catch them young, basically. Catch it before it escalates. Online influence. So social media can actually make a child rebel against their actual upbringing. What they are exposed to, what is your child being exposed to, what are they looking at, what are they watching, what kind of content are they actually feeding on? Are they godly content? Are they content that promote gangs? Are they content like glorify belonging to gangs, stuff like that? So you should actually be very, very mindful of, or watch out for things that would make your child actually rebel against the upbringing that you are trying to instill into them as a parent, as an immigrant parent. Key is stay involved in your child's life. Stay involved with your child's life. Do not sweep anything under the carpet. Let your child have a friendship. I always say this thing. You're not supposed to be, I think, this is my own opinion. You're not supposed to be your child's friend. You're supposed to be your child's parent. However, you can have a friendship with your child in the sense that you can build that friendship with your child, that your child is able to, confide in you over certain things. And there's a line. The lines of parenting is not crossed. This child knows that you're my mom, you're my dad, but you're also somebody I can talk to. I feel, relaxed to have a conversation with you. Know your child very well. Know your child's friend. Know your child's tendencies. Know who they hang out with. Know the parents of those people that they hang out with. Know the places that they are going, Also know what they are doing. Be involved in your child's life, because that is the only way that you're going to be able to catch things before they escalate. That's the only way you can be able to read the signs. Invite them to church, pray with them, hold their hands, teach them the ways of God, because at the end of the day, this child is your reflection. You don't want your child to come and spoil. You really do not want that to happen. You don't want your child to be caught up in with the wrong kind of people, with the wrong kind of crowd. There are a lot of people that I'm sure they wished, people that are in the system, I'm sure they wished if they could do better, they would do better to remove their child from that. Because trust me, I don't think there's any child that is in the system except like I don't think, I mean, even the children that go through the worst cases, that's what I said. And when I say this, I say it with caution, because I don't want you guys to misunderstand me. I don't think there's any child that is in the system that actually wants to be in the system. Even, unfortunately, even the ones that have been hurt by their parents, they do not even see it like the system is trying to save them. That's not the case. They see it like the system is taking them away from what they know, because that's what they know, right? So imagine if a child has been hurt, has been abused, has been neglected, but then the system takes them away for their own safety, but then they don't still see it because that's not what they know. They have known this other person, this person that's hurt them. That's what they know. That's what they are used to. So they see the system as an enemy. But regardless of that fact, no child wants to be taken away from their parent. No child wants to be taken away from their mom or their dad. But there are situations that would would bring about that. The situation that will cause that. So you that has your child in your house, you that has your child under your roof, you have to be present. You have to be involved. You just have to, because you don't want a situation where your child is being taken away from you for a certain reason. So one thing parents do not understand is how closely the school and the social services work. They work like clockwork, 5 and 6. The teachers are trained to report any safeguarding concerns. That's their duty of care to the child, right? So they have to report it. So this is what parents should actually look out for. They should actually, understand how it works. Okay? That is very important to educate yourself on your rights as a parent. Keep open communications with your child, and also educate them about, so that they don't misunderstand what you're doing or what you're trying to do. And you have to be smart. You have to be very, very smart, because these people, they have English. English. When they give you the grammars, when they bring out the laws, when they start telling you this according to the Child Act protection, you don't be looking. You need to educate yourself. You need to educate. You don't want to carry last. Forget lawyer. I'm not saying that, God forbid, a situation happens and you need a lawyer. But then before the lawyer time, if you are giving them passports too, with the law too, before that, lawyer doesn't even, you don't even need to spend money on lawyer. It's only in high cases that obviously if this one don't pass you, it has passed your level. That's when you now say, okay, I'm a lawyer. But when you educate yourself, when you're conversant with the law, you know your rights as a parent, they don't stand a chance. Nobody stands a chance. You have to find a balance. What is a cultural discipline and what is acceptable in the UK? So there has to be a balance. If you're bringing your cultural discipline, your biblical discipline, whatever discipline that you're using has to be acceptable in the UK. He has to marry. They have to align. They have to, collaborate together. Have a strong support system. Faith groups, communities, churches, build a community with other immigrant parents that have already been here for a long time. Ask them, how did they do it? How did you do? What approach did you use? What method did you use to, get your child to be in this way? Especially those that have successfully, gracefully trained their child, and their child has not, swayed into the other side. Build the community with them. Ask them questions. The best thing you can do for yourself in this country is ask questions. The worst thing that you can do for yourself is not ask questions. You have to know, because if you do not know, you're going to enter problem. And I always say this, in the UK, it's always the smallest things that put people into the big. Like, it's all the littlest things that get you into the biggest trouble, if that makes sense. So you have to ask your questions. You have to be, inquisitive. You have to want to know and build a community. Have a tight-knitted community of other immigrant parents. Ask them what their tricks are. Ask them what their approaches are, because approach is key. You might think that firm approach is what you need to scold a child. need to, change your approach a bit when raising your child. Teach your child identity and resilience so they do not get caught up in the trap of trying to fit in. Now, how do you do this? How do you teach your child who they are? You have to help them understand their culture, their beliefs, their values. You have to help them, embrace all these things. What makes them who they are? Their strength. Sometimes it's good to hype your child. Sometimes it's good to be like, yes, that's my son. Like sometimes children just want to feel hyped. Even the smallest things that they do, the good things that they do. Yes, that's my son. Show them, take them back to their roots. Sometimes it really does help. Encourage self-expression. Yes, I understand that sometimes we are so big on respect. We are so big on, authority. This, that. Do you know who I am? Kiniko. No, it's good, but it also should have its limit. Encourage your child to be able to speak, to be able to express themselves. I feel like it's so important. Let your child tell you what's on their mind. Let them say what they have to say. It doesn't mean they're going to be disrespectful, but it's so good to hear what they think. You need to ask your child, okay, so what do you think about this? Okay, what do you think? What do you suggest? It's not necessarily like they are trying to boss you around, but it's just a way for you to help them be more expressive, to be able to voice out. Because what you don't understand is if they can't voice out in front of you, what makes you think they will be able to be expressive in front of their peers? Is it when every other person is talking, they will just be keeping quiet? They are not able to express themselves because they are not doing it at home. They are not doing it at home. They cannot talk to their parent. They cannot be expressive. So what makes you think they're going to be expressive outside? Help them to explore their interests. Help them to explore their talents. Help them to explore, things that make them who they are. This thing that when Nigerian parents, especially, I'm going to say Nigeria because that's where I'm from, right? Nigerian parents, when they have a child, they say they want the child, maybe they are doctors and they say they want their child to be a doctor. And their child has this passion for business or tech or something. And because they have this notion that their child must be a doctor, they literally stifle that, kill that drive, kill that passion, and because they want their child to go into that line, live after their own shadow. That's not it. I feel like you should encourage your child. The littlest of things. I've seen children, they liked to paint nails. And I saw a child literally paint. This child is 13 years old. This girl is making so much money on the internet. She's selling press-on nails. She paints them and she does everything, and then she puts it on the market. 25 every 20 something dollars per set. That is a parent. That was what a parent saw that the child had interest in, and encourage that passion. You also have to teach them to handle challenges. One thing I've seen a lot of times is that most of the children, most of the young people, they do not know how to handle certain things. They cause trouble and they run away, and in the face of that problem, they just don't know how to handle it. It's too much. They don't know that actions have consequences, right? And even some of them, even if they know, they don't care. Or sometimes they are so entitled. They are so entitled to the point that they feel everything should be handed. Nah, you have to teach them. You have to teach them how to handle challenges, how to be responsible, how to, have that sense of responsibility, have that sense of, accountability as well. Our children are sometimes a mirror, our own reflection, basically. Sometimes, in most cases. So sometimes what we do kind of rubs off of them, whether we choose to admit it or not. Now, if you're a kind of parent that is always, speaking positively about yourself, you're owning the room, you're owning your game, you're top of your game, your child, I mean, there's something that we say in my language. It means the lion cannot give birth to a goat. The lion cannot give birth to a goat. So, that being said, If you're the kind of parent that is proud of yourself, proud of your identity, you speak positively about yourself and others, you're always reinforcing self acceptance, your child is invariably going to do the same. So you always have to model what you want your child to be. At the end of the day, you're raising a child in a foreign land, and the goal isn't just survival. The goal is to raise a child with wisdom, faith, and understanding, so they do not get lost in a system that wasn't designed for them. So guys, we've come to the end of this vlog. If you like this vlog, kindly give it a thumbs up and share this vlog to as many parents as you can possibly share it to. Kindly drop in the comment section what you think about this topic. Are you a parent? How have you been navigating parenthood in the UK? What are the tips and the tricks that you would like us to know? Please drop that in the comment section. Do not forget to stay safe and make good choices. Bye.